The second, and I'm guessing final trailer for The Mandalorian was just released. It was short and reused a lot of footage from the previous trailer, but what, like I'm not gonna overanalyze it? Let's do this. Things open up with the stormtrooper helmets on spikes. I think that's just a good way to kind of let you know the state of things right now. The Empire has been defeated, they're mostly a thing of the past, but their influence hasn't left the galaxy. They are remembered. Werner Herzog's character asks if the world is more peaceful since the revolution, and my guess is that, at least out where this show takes place, the answer is a resounding no. There's a shot of some blurgs riding alongside a cliffside. Those creatures first appeared in the Ewok made-for-TV movies way back when, and they've since been in the Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels. Jon Favreau promised this show would be pulling inspiration from all corners of the Star Wars universe, and we've already seen plenty of examples of that, but this is another good one. Herzog continues on, saying that it's a shame that your people suffered, and I assume he's talking to the Mandalorian, who is now standing in some valley. We don't really know what happened to the Mandalorian people after the events of Star Wars Rebels. They were under Imperial rule for a time, and we got to see Bo-Katan start to lead the fight for freedom. Now that I'm writing this, I wonder if that was the revolution Herzog spoke of earlier. I wish I knew his character's name so I don't have to keep calling him Herzog, but anyway, I found it strange that he asked if the world was more peaceful and not the galaxy. So we could be hearing a lot more about what happened on Mandalore. What was the result of their uprising? Maybe it didn't go so well. Even if they won, it could have come at a heavy cost, and now the Mandalorians aren't quite the power they once were. But back to the trailer, the Mando is ambushed by some Trandoshans, and they battle it out. This was first revealed to us in an Entertainment Weekly photo. Even in action, they look a little weird to me. Something about the eyes. I miss Bosk's big ol' lizard eyes. But the fight ends and we get a look at what the Mandalorian's rifle can do, giving a shock to one of his opponents. Inside the Razor Crest, we see the Mando's carbon freezing chamber in action. You can see the person writhing around a little bit until he just winds up frozen with the rest of the slabs. And shortly after, you can see them all being unloaded. There are 3 lined up, 1 coming out, and then I think at least 1 more still inside, so this is quite the haul. I hope he gets paid well. In the back, you can see a ship that I think matches this other shot of the Mandalorian entering this village. I'd guess that's Greef Karga's ship, but who knows. Herzog's voiceover continues, "They said you were coming, they said you were the best in the parsec," as the Mando enters a cantina full of unsavory-looking people. Favreau has said before how much he was influenced by the cantina scene in A New Hope, so this is probably his attempt to put his own spin on that idea and explore it further. That's the world the Mandalorian operates in, the scum and villainy side of things. We finally see Herzog briefly in a room full of stormtroopers. This is part of a scene that was played at Celebration where the old man sends the main character after an off-the-books bounty, but he asks if the Mando agrees that he is the best, and we cut to a great action sequence of our hero coming out of a door and immediately kicking ass with Greef Karga not far behind. You can see that his armor is mostly all silver at this point, looking a little more cohesive when compared to other shots. I'd guess this is in the later half of the season after he's been able to do some upgrades. The Beskar is able to take a blaster shot like it's nothing, the same way Phasma's armor does in The Last Jedi. Moving on, we see a shot of a child reaching up. In the sky, a Separatist HMP droid gunship flies overhead. And then a family, probably the child and his parents, are running away from 2 super battle droids. These shots already excite me, getting to see Clone Wars era tech in the more dirty, lived-in era of the original trilogy or close to it. But I pointed out how old these droids would be at this point, and Molly had a pretty interesting thought. What if this is a flashback? Maybe we're seeing the Mandalorian when he was much younger. He could lose his parents during the Clone Wars only to be saved by the Republic, or maybe even a Jedi, or maybe a Mandalorian warrior. Maybe a Mandalorian saves this kid and inspires him to become a noble warrior as well, but all that's left for him now is bounty hunting after his people suffered at the hands of the Empire and fell from glory. The first season could be about him regaining some of his own honor, but the show as a whole could be about restoring Mandalore itself. But speaking of the ugly world of bounty hunting, we get a little more of that sequence where he's capturing a Quarren. First of all, that makeup or CGI or whatever it is looks awesome. The Quarren gets a shot off, and that seems to be what prompts the Mando to shoot the door closed. Probably one of those deals where they're worth more alive, but he'll settle for dead. I have no idea what this muddy rhinoceros-looking creature is, but the Mando takes it for a ride in a mud pit. Again, this is a dirty world, and maybe his personal quest is to carve out a better life for himself and eventually his people. Inside the Razor Crest, we get one of our best looks at the Ugnaught character, Kuiil. I really hope that's the character voiced by Nick Nolte because, just look at him. Then the Mandalorian rides swoop bikes down some sand dunes with someone else. I'm not sure who, and then he walks across the desert in a shot we've seen before. The Razor Crest is chased through space by an unknown ship. You can kind of make out that it has a two-pronged design, sort of like a Y-wing if the wings extended out the front as well. Karga and some of his crew watch the Razor Crest land. I like the look of his crew and just in general the number of aliens we've seen. Also, why is Karga wearing half a jacket? He's supposed to be the leader of the Bounty Hunters Guild. I'd think he could afford the whole thing. Okay, finally we're seeing Cara Dune. She has been far too absent from the trailers so far, and she's easily one of the most compelling characters to me. Her description as a former rebel shock trooper gone mercenary had everyone oohing and aahing at Celebration. I want to know more about her, but I really love this shot of her becoming besties with the Mandalorian. I just love seeing people working together and getting along and high-fiving. I don't know what it is, it just makes me happy. The painted spikes behind him make me think this is involved with the AT-ST Raider that was shown in the previous trailer. Maybe he and Cara joined forces to protect this small village. Here's another shot of him walking as the sun's going up or down. I bet he does a lot of dramatic walking in this show. Moff Gideon doesn't appear until near the end of the trailer along with his stormtroopers and death troopers. I've guessed before that he's an Imperial warlord type, just trying to hold on to what little power he's got left. If you see the doorway they're all aiming at, it's got the same 3 blaster marks as the door the Mando comes charging out of earlier in the trailer, so this is probably the prelude to that fight, and I'd guess it's later in the series. And there's that shot of IG-11 again. I'm not complaining, it's an awesome shot, I don't blame them for using it over and over, and I think we get to see just a little bit more of it this time. In a grassy landscape, a woman goes to take off the Mandalorian's helmet. I do think we will see Pedro Pascal's face at some point during this season. Maybe not until the end, but you can't cast an actor like him and then never ever show his face. I bet we'll see it a lot more often in Season 2. So that probably means that the helmet is symbolic, kinda like Kylo Ren. He might be hiding behind it. Maybe he's ashamed of the work he does, or maybe he doesn't feel like a Mandalorian unless he wears the armor. This could be kind of like a Spider-Man Homecoming thing, where he thinks he's nothing without his armor, and he has to learn that he makes the armor and not the other way around. There's a quick shot of Cara again, toting a massive-looking blaster rifle, looking awesome, and then Bill Burr pops out, dual-wielding pistols with a shoulder-mounted blaster on top of that, triple-wielding. I think he said on some podcast that he's a member of kind of a rival bounty hunting group or something. I wouldn't be surprised to see him and his team fight against the Mandalorian at some point. And in the final little action sequence, we see the Mando attached to a TIE fighter by a cable being pulled along through the air, and then he fires his jetpack to reach the cockpit. We've been talking about him upgrading his armor for a while now, and a jetpack feels like it should be the final piece. It's pretty cool to have confirmation that the Mandalorian will fly in Season 1. Moff Gideon is in that cockpit, and I'm guessing he's trying to escape after the Mando rampaged through all of his stormtroopers in that fight. Herzog's voiceover kicked in a little earlier in the trailer, but he says, "Mandalorian, look outside. They are waiting for you." I've speculated that the Mando will be working for Herzog for a while in the first season. He takes that off the books job in exchange for Beskar, Mandalorian iron, and with that he can start to remake his armor. But eventually, some job is probably going to cross a line and he'll go against whatever little Imperial faction Herzog is with. Maybe it's the mission against the Raiders on the grassy planet. Maybe the Imperials are supporting the Raiders with weapons like an AT-ST, similar to the way the First Order supported the pirates in Season 1 of Star Wars Resistance. Send in a third party to cause chaos and then swoop in to make it look like you're the hero. It looks like Cara Dune fights with the Mandalorian against the Empire after they become super best friends forever, and I could see that being the boiling point these 8 episodes build toward. The Mandalorian pulls out his rifle in the last shot, defiantly saying, "Yeah, good," in response to being surrounded by stormtroopers, and that's the end of the trailer. It was good, and it's still hyping me up, but man, Star Wars trailers the past 2 weeks have been keeping things really sparse with the story details. I think that's fine, I'm gonna watch it anyway. I'm just so used to knowing a lot more going into any given show or movie. It's refreshing. I do feel like I'm able to make some better guesses than I can about the rise of Skywalker based off this trailer, but still, I have no idea what the actual story is about. I'm just taking shots in the dark. But what did you guys think of the trailer? What was your favorite part? Let me know in the comments. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and consider checking out our Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.